hidden under mountains, buried in salt mines, and locked away in secret bunkers. The Nazis left behind a world of chilling mysteries. From ghost trains and stolen treasures to UFO experiments and giant weapons, these discoveries reveal just how far Hitler's regime went. These are history's most terrifying finds. World War II wasn't just fought with tanks and planes. It was also fought in hidden tunnels, secret labs, and underground fortresses. The Nazis built massive bunkers, experimented with futuristic weapons, and stole priceless treasures, hiding them away for a future that never came. When the war ended, Allied soldiers, treasure hunters, and historians uncovered shocking evidence of a regime obsessed with power at any cost. These finds are not just objects, they're reminders of how dangerous ideas can shape the world. Today, we step into that hidden world, exploring the most terrifying discoveries left behind by Nazi Germany. Chapter 1. The Wolf's Lair. Deep in the forests of East Prussia stood Hitler's hidden stronghold, known as the Wolf's Lair. Built in 1941, this secret headquarters stretched across more than 6 square kilometers. Protected by minefields, barbed wire, and thick forest, it was designed to be almost impossible to attack. Hitler spent much of the war here, planning battles and issuing orders far away from the front lines. The lair wasn't just a bunker. It was like a small city with hundreds of buildings, bunkers, barracks, and even its own power plants. But the Wolf's Lair is most famous for what happened in July 1944. Inside one of its conference rooms, Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg placed a bomb in an attempt to assassinate Hitler. The explosion ripped through the room, killing several officers, but Hitler survived with only minor injuries. The failed plot sealed the fate of the conspirators and deepened Hitler's paranoia. When the Soviet army advanced in 1945, the Nazis abandoned the Wolf's Lair, blowing up parts of it as they fled. Today, its crumbling ruins still stand. Walking through the broken bunkers, you can almost feel the weight of history pressing down. It's a haunting reminder of the place where some of the deadliest decisions of the war were made. Chapter 2. Project Der Riese. Hidden in the Owl Mountains of Poland is one of the Nazis' most mysterious projects, Der Riese, which means the giant. This was an enormous underground construction project carved directly into solid rock, using forced labor from concentration camps. Prisoners worked under horrific conditions, digging tunnels and chambers day and night. Many died from exhaustion, starvation, or brutal treatment. The scale of the project was staggering. Huge caverns and passageways, some large enough to house entire factories. But here's the mystery. No one knows exactly what Der Riese was meant for. Some believe it was supposed to be a secure military headquarters, safe from Allied bombs. Others think it might have been intended for secret weapons production or even nuclear research. To this day, many parts of Der Riese are unexplored or sealed off. Flooded tunnels and dangerous conditions keep people away, and with that, the secrets remain buried. Some locals even whisper about hidden trains of gold and strange experiments carried out inside. Whether truth or myth, Der Riese is one of the most chilling legacies of Nazi ambition. Chapter 3. Flak Towers. In cities like Berlin, Hamburg, and Vienna, the Nazis built massive fortresses of concrete called flak towers. These weren't just buildings, they were giants of war. Each one could hold thousands of civilians hiding from Allied bombing raids. On the rooftops sat heavy anti-aircraft guns, blasting away at enemy planes. The walls of these towers were so thick, sometimes over 3 meters, that Allied bombs barely scratched them. Inside, families huddled together, listening as the guns thundered overhead and the city burned outside. After the war, the towers proved nearly indestructible. Attempts to demolish them often failed because the concrete was too strong. Some of them still stand today, turned into museums, aquariums, or even climbing walls. But when you look at them, you can't forget their true purpose. They were symbols of a city under siege, of fear and defiance, and of a regime that believed it could outlast the storm of war. In Chapter 4, the Altossi Salt Mine. One of the most stunning discoveries of World War II came in Austria, inside the Altossi Salt Mine. Hidden deep underground were thousands of stolen artworks looted from across Europe. Paintings, sculptures, and priceless treasures sat packed in wooden crates, waiting for their new home in Hitler's planned Führer Museum. Inside were masterpieces by Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Vermeer, and many more. The Nazis had stripped museums, churches, and private collections, determined to create their own vision of culture. As the Allies closed in, the Nazis prepared to blow up the mine to destroy everything inside. But local miners and resistance fighters sabotaged the explosives, saving the treasures from destruction. When Allied troops finally entered, they were stunned. It wasn't just art they found. It was evidence of the Nazis' attempt to erase and rewrite cultural history. Thanks to those who risked their lives, much of Europe's heritage survived. Chapter 5. The Reich's Secret Stash. The Nazis didn't just steal art. They stole gold, jewelry, and currency on an unimaginable scale. They plundered banks, looted Jewish families, and hoarded wealth across the continent. Some of this treasure was hidden in bunkers and vaults, but some of it was dumped in remote places as the Reich collapsed. One of the most famous stories is about Lake Toplitz in Austria. Divers have recovered counterfeit money from its depths, but rumors say gold bars, secret documents, and maybe even advanced weapons were thrown into the lake as well. These stashes show just how desperate the Nazis were in the final days. Even as their empire crumbled, they clung to their stolen riches, hoping to use them to rise again someday. Chapter 6. The Ghost Train. Perhaps the most legendary story of Nazi treasure is the Ghost Train. In the final days of the war, locals reported seeing a heavily loaded train vanish somewhere in Poland's Owl Mountains. It was said to carry gold, jewels, and priceless art. Some believe it was sealed inside hidden tunnels connected to Project Der Riese. Others think it was destroyed before the Allies could capture it. In recent years, researchers claim to have found evidence of the train underground, sparking worldwide excitement. But no conclusive proof has ever been uncovered. The Ghost Train remains a legend, an echo of the chaos and secrecy that defined the Nazis' last desperate days. Chapter 7. The Shocking Nazi UFO. One of the strangest and most controversial claims is that the Nazis experimented with flying saucers. Some say they developed circular aircraft powered by advanced engines or even anti-gravity theories. Projects like the Haunebu or real crafts remain wrapped in mystery. While hard evidence is limited, we do know the Nazis were experimenting with strange aircraft designs. Photos and documents show prototypes that looked unlike anything else of the time. Were they really UFOs or just desperate attempts at new weapons? The line between fact and legend is thin here, but what's certain is that the Nazis dreamed of weapons so advanced they could change the course of the war, even if it meant venturing into the unknown. Chapter 8. The first stealth plane in history. Not all Nazi aircraft were myths. One real breakthrough was the Horten Ho 229, considered the first stealth plane in history. Built by the Horten brothers, this flying wing jet had a sleek design that made it harder to detect on radar. It looked futuristic, decades ahead of its time. If mass-produced, it could have devastated Allied bombers. But the war ended before it could go into full production. Today, a surviving prototype rests in the Smithsonian Museum in the United States. Looking at it, you can see the roots of modern stealth bombers like the B-2. The fact that this was built in the 1940s shows just how advanced some Nazi designs really were. Chapter 9. The Belly of the Beast. At the heart of Berlin, buried underground, was the Führer bunker. This was where Hitler spent his final days, trapped as the Red Army closed in. The bunker was cramped, dark, and filled with tension. Hitler gave orders disconnected from reality, shouting at generals and moving imaginary armies across maps. It was here that he married Eva Braun, and it was here that they both died in April 1945. The Führer bunker was more than a shelter. It was the tomb of the Third Reich. Today, the site is just a parking lot, with only small plaques marking its place. But beneath the ground, the ruins still exist, silent witnesses to the fall of Nazi Germany. Chapter 10. The Sleeping Giants. The Nazis also dreamed of massive superweapons, what some call the sleeping giants. These included monstrous tanks, gigantic artillery pieces, and battleships unlike anything the world had seen. The most famous was the Schwerer Gustav, a railway gun so large it needed 25 railway cars to transport its parts. It fired shells weighing over 7 tons at targets 30 miles away. But weapons like these were impractical. They were too expensive, too slow, and too vulnerable. Many of the giants were abandoned before they could even be used. Yet, they show the Nazi obsession with size and intimidation, a desire to shock the world with raw power. Chapter 11. The Nazi Strategy Theft. As Nazi Germany collapsed in 1945, the Allies knew that victory wasn't just about territory. It was also about knowledge. Hidden inside laboratories, underground facilities, and secret files lay the blueprints for weapons and technologies far ahead of their time. To capture this, the Americans launched Operation Paperclip, a mission to secure Nazi scientists before the Soviets could. Among those taken was Wernher von Braun, the mastermind behind the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. His terrifying weapon had rained destruction on London and Antwerp. Yet after the war, he was quietly moved to the United States. There, his brilliance was redirected, not to destroy, but to build. Von Braun became a central figure in NASA, leading the team that designed the Saturn V rocket, which carried astronauts to the moon. It's chilling when you think about it. The same science that helped Hitler wage war was later used to push humanity into space. The war ended, but the knowledge lived on, shaping the Cold War arms race and even modern space exploration. Operation Paperclip blurred the lines between justice and necessity, leaving behind a legacy that still sparks debate today. Chapter 12. The Eagle's Nest. Rising high in the Bavarian Alps, on a sheer mountaintop more than 6,000 feet above sea level, stands the Eagle's Nest, or Kelstein House. Built as a 50th birthday gift for Adolf Hitler, it was designed to showcase the regime's power and grandeur. The construction was an incredible feat of engineering. Tunnels blasted through solid rock, a winding road carved into dangerous slopes, and even a luxurious elevator lined with polished brass that carried guests straight up to the summit. Inside, the retreat was filled with opulence. Italian marble fireplaces, fine woodwork, and large windows opening to sweeping alpine views. It was meant to be a place where the Führer could entertain guests in style, far from the chaos of war. But in a twist of irony, Hitler barely used it. Terrified of heights, he only visited a handful of tombs, leaving this grand creation mostly empty. Today, the Eagle's Nest has become a tourist attraction. People flock to the site for its breathtaking scenery, yet the building itself remains a stark reminder of Nazi excess and hubris. Standing there, one feels the contrast between the beauty of nature and the darkness of history carved into the mountain. Chapter 13. The Heart of the Mountains. Another terrifying find lies deep in Austria's Alps. In Ebensee, part of the Mauthausen camp system, the Nazis carved huge tunnels into mountains. These were used as underground factories for weapons production, hidden from Allied bombers. Prisoners were forced to work in horrific conditions. Many died from exhaustion, starvation, or abuse. The tunnels remain today, echoing with silence, a graveyard of human suffering. Walking through them, you can feel the weight of history. The mountains still hold the scars of forced labor and cruelty, showing the true cost of Nazi ambition. Chapter 14. Operation Bernhard. Not all Nazi plans involved weapons. One of the boldest was Operation Bernhard, a scheme to collapse the British economy with counterfeit money. The Nazis forced prisoners with printing and engraving skills to produce fake British pounds. The notes were so well made they fooled even experts. The plan never fully succeeded, but it remains the largest counterfeiting operation in history. In the last days of the war, many of the forged notes were dumped into lakes where they were discovered years later. It's a reminder that the Nazis fought not only with guns and tanks, but with deception and economic warfare. These are just some of the terrifying finds from Nazi Germany. There were also secret chemical weapon stashes, underground airfields, strange experiments, and countless hidden bunkers. Each discovery reveals the same truth. The The Nazis were willing to push science, technology, and human cruelty to the very edge in their quest for power. What makes these finds so chilling isn't just their size or design, it's what they represent. A world driven by ideology, greed, and domination, where human life was sacrificed for ambition. These relics are more than history, they are warnings. The bunkers, mines, and ruins of Nazi Germany are more than relics. They are silent warnings of what happens when power and ideology run unchecked. By uncovering these terrifying finds, we don't just learn about the past, we remind ourselves why history's darkest lessons must never be forgotten. If you found this documentary eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, subscribe,